Hello everyone, welcome back to Blooms and Bicycles and happy Halloween. Moving into the celebrations of Halloween, local pumpkin farms become a hive of activity with groups of families and friends. Like glowing orange autumnal suns, these wonderful fruits, which sit patiently waiting to be taken to their new home for the festive celebrations, sit in contrast to the colour of the earth behind. Then becoming the centrepiece on party tables across our lands, they complement the sea of carnival colours we find in the other decorations at this time of year. Embracing the magic of October, this Halloween flower collection has been designed to help you encapsulate the excitement of these atmospheric celebrations. So in today's video, we'll be sharing with you how to construct the large Halloween letterbox flowers. Our water vessel today is already prepared with both the water and the flower feed. However, if you would like to know how to prepare your water vessel, you can find the link to our flower care video in the description box below. To construct our grid, we'll take the various stems of Grevillea. So Grevillea, as you can see, is a very naturally long stem. So we can always split this into either 2 or 3 pieces, and given the height of our vase, I think trimming it down into 2 will work best in this instance with this stem. So what we do is we find the midway point and we find a place to cut just above the leaf on an angle. Taking away any of the leaves which will fall under the water line. We then just start to add in our stems in a crisscross formation, helping them knit together to create that structure. With 3, 5 and 7 being the magic numbers that you work with in floristry, and given how many pieces of Grevillea you will get as material to use for your flower grid with this piece, working with the magic of 7 to create a 7-point star formation is the best way to go for that natural balance and symmetry. The other thing to also note, you can also get Grevillea pieces which come with various offshoots, so that's another opportunity to split it into various pieces, and that's what we'll do as well today. Using the smaller offcuts towards the front and the larger pieces towards the back and in the central prominent area, this will help us start to build out that fan-like shape to create that natural burst design. So again, we have some shorter pieces here which will go to the very front. So now we'll take our limonium as the final piece to construct our flower grid with. Again, because this comes with various offshoots, there's the opportunity to split it into 2 in the same way. The grid allows you to start creating some really unusual angles, so as long as your water vessel is filled right to the top, play around and have fun as much as you can. So now we'll take our pumpkin pieces, one being a small orange pumpkin and the other being a mini white baby boo. These come on natural magnolia branches which are fairly straight, so you can use the height, maybe positioning one to the back, but making sure it is still prominent given this is what the season is about. So actually making sure that slopes off right to the edge of our design. It's sort of moved into its own space and weaved itself in between the limonium flowers, which is actually really pretty, I think. So now we'll take our white mini baby boo and trimming this down significantly, we'll position this towards the front. So next we'll take our other orange pieces, which are our Chinese lantern stem, which looks like a set of fairy lights you'd expect to see on the evening of trick-or-treaters, and also our Celosia. With the Celosia being very tall naturally, we'll use this to its advantage and use that as a back piece to start creating that height at the back of the design. So now with our final orange piece, given consideration to the Celosia at the very back, which is high, The pumpkin, which is in the middle section of the design and at midway point, we'll now use our Chinese lanterns just by weaving them into the very front of the grid and allowing them to sweep off in the opposite direction. So now we'll take these carnival coloured dahlias. They are very similar to the other dahlias which were in the last collection. Their petals grow right around the back of the flower head, just as much as they do at the front of the flower head, to create a pom-pom shape. And these ones go in an ombre fashion from a purple colour through to a coral and then to an orange there. Absolutely gorgeous. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a dahlia fan. So again, working with the magic of 3, we'll create a triangle formation and we'll start to use these to fill any of the empty spaces. So gently weaving it in the grid into a place where it's supported. We'll trim down each of the flower heads so they're different in height. So adding one dahlia to the front because the other one was just introduced to the middle section. We'll now place this final one, leaving it to be very tall towards the back next to the celosia. And making sure your flowers are twirled if necessary so that the full of the flower is on view, so we can always make the most of Mother Nature's beauty. So now we'll take our purple stems, which are these showstopper chrysanthemums. So once these open up finally to the full bloom, they will be 6 to 7 centimetres wide. They're absolutely fantastic. So now, considering where the voids are in the design, there seems to be one in the middle, and given how special this flower is, I think that's perfectly suited for the space. So we'll introduce this to the grid, just so it sits nicely in contrast to the orange and coral colours it's surrounded by. Trimming down your flowers might just be a case of trial and error. So if you do introduce a flower and think it is too high, just wiggle it around from left to right as you pull it back out of the grid. This just ensures you don't disturb any of the positions of the other flowers which have previously been added in. Some flowers may move when you do this. It is natural for that to happen. So just have a play around until things sit in the place where you're happy. And now to take our final purple coloured stem, this beautiful Eustoma in a much more mottled autumnal tone, very much along the lines of what you would see out and about in nature at this time of year. So again, Eustoma is one of those flowers which comes with various offshoots from the main stem. You can trim these away to create more of a distribution of the flowers throughout the design, or in our case, we will leave these in place because they will offer a balance for the massive purple on the other side with the chrysanthemum. About there. And now for our candy coloured pink roses, just to introduce a softer tone and something which adds a surprising contrast to the carnival colours so synonymous with Halloween. We'll also add these in a triangular formation because we're working with the magic of 3. And again, because it's all about varying heights, we'll trim one stem's height down so that it's notably different to the other. And therefore, I think it'll be nice to position this off to the back, maybe around a similar height to the other one on the opposing side. So rose stems, they do look strong, however, they are surprisingly delicate. Therefore, when introducing them to the grid, just be mindful to just coax them in gently. And because they are always so beautiful, the timeless rose. Make sure it always has its space to shine. So now we'll take our dried stems. So again, to create some unexpected contrast with an unusual combination of colours, this taupe asparagus fern leaf is a lot more muted in colour as opposed to the other carnival colours introduced throughout the rest of the design. Therefore, providing the perfect backdrop, we can ease this into place, lower down the stems to create some depth to the display. So these two coloured pampas are actually synthetically dyed. So one thing to just be mindful of is when it does come into contact with the water, the dye can transfer into the water. Therefore, be mindful to keep it away from any porous surfaces. And when you're lifting out the flowers to switch out the water, if you either make sure you put on a pair of rubber gloves or only hold the flower stems from above the water mark so you don't come into contact with any of the wet stem, it will just ensure that you don't end up with any of the dye on your hands. The best thing to do is to loosen off the feathery offshoots from the main spine to really get that natural plume effect that they're so famous for. What you can always do if you like is separate these into two different pieces. If you do wish to do that, all you have to do is pull away gently the feathery offshoots to one side to reveal the main spine underneath. If you do this at the midway point, you can then take your scissors and trim away on an angle where the closest offshoot is. This will create a natural cut that you won't even see once it's split into two parts. For this design though, we'll be using it just as it is. So trimming it down significantly so it doesn't sit too high in comparison to everything else. We'll just weave it into the design where there are any final empty spaces. It doesn't have to sit in the water, so if it does rest right on top of the grid, that's fine, because it's a dried stem. And the same for this black pampas. What a showstopper. You could actually just put those in a vase on their own and they would look beautiful at Halloween. So we will split this black pampas into two in the way just described. So we have 3 pampas points in the design. And as you can see, the dramatic black colour of the pampas really allows all the other colours to pop. And as one final glamorous splash of black, we'll use these hill flowers in the central area at the front, like a constellation of black stars, very fitting for Halloween. And there you have it, the large Halloween letterbox flowers. I hope you have a lovely Halloween.